Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Jeff back here with Project Xylus. We are moving right along with this project. We're in part 6 now, so moving along. We're on the passenger side of the car at this point, passenger rear quarter panel. We are now working on this side of the car. I'm sufficiently happy with everything that we've accomplished on the driver's side and the rear, and so we're now moving on to the passenger side. Now we're just about ready to start laying up the clay here, which is awesome. I'm so excited to get started on that. But before I could do that, I had to make sure that everything was properly set up on this side, and that is of course not just the tin foil and the packing tape, but we also had to do all of our measurements and everything to get exactly precise. We had to get the positioning of the flare exactly where it's at on the driver's side, otherwise it's going to look all janky and terrible. So I went above and beyond just to make sure that I had the lines as close as humanly possible. And keep in mind, I'm doing this with all my eye, the old-fashioned way with the artist's eye. Unfortunately, I don't have any computers or anything to perfectly map it out. I'm not 3D printing these things. I'm doing, again, the old-fashioned way. This is all old school, but you know, there's something to be said about doing it the old school way too. So it's not a bad thing. But with that being said, I have triple checked all my lines and made sure everything is perfect and all my positioning is going to be fine. I have not only my support ribs that I made, hopefully you guys have been following. If you've been following, you know what I'm talking about. It's my these guys right here, which are my depth ribs, or my symmetry ribs if you will, and these are going to be for the actual depth of the flare coming this way. And then I had to also capture the exact diameter of the flare, which is going to be this line right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. But there's a line in Sharpie marker that's capturing the exact outline of the design of the flare at the same time. Now in order to get that line, what I did is I actually traced with the Sharpie marker the flare as it was mounted on the driver's side to get the exact positioning of it, and then I took a piece of parchment paper, which is something like this, which is like almost a transparent, you can see through it as I put my hand there. It's not quite as transparent as a tracing paper, it's actually for cooking. But I used some of that and I removed the flare from the car. The outline was still obviously on the body of the car, or on the tape rather. I wouldn't Sharpie marker directly on my paint, don't worry. So I had the outline on the opposite side, and I took the big old piece of parchment paper and I placed it up against the body of the car so I could see that line through the paper. And then I just went ahead and traced that line on the paper, flipped it around, came to this side of the car, put it on the body, and then traced the line. That was the first step of capturing that shape. And then I took my ruler, this guy, and made sure that everything was exactly the same spacing from some particular points on the body. For example, down here in the corner that you guys can't even see what I'm pointing at. Down here in the corner, I took a measurement from the door jamb to that corner down there, and then I took a measurement from up here to where it starts to curve. And then I also took a couple of measurements back there just to make absolute sure that everything was measuring the exact same distance, just to double up on it and make sure it was exactly the same. I'm really glad I did that, because as close as I got with the parchment paper, there were a couple of areas that I needed to fine tune that I only could have found if I used my ruler and good old measurements. So that's just kind of how I roll. It's just, you know, double up on stuff, make sure you're going the extra mile to really get your lines straight and all that. It's what differentiates a amateur project from something that looks a little more professional. It's not going to be perfect, like I always say. This is definitely an artist's job, an old school artist's job, so it's going to be close, but won't be perfect. But that's okay, it's going to be good enough for me. So, I have everything ready to go. I have my canvas here, and the only thing left to do is just to lay up the clay. So we are in good shape here. Now, I don't imagine this is going to take quite as long to sculpt as the other side, as the driver's side did. I could be mistaken about that, you never know, but I don't imagine it will take as long at all, just because I already have so much reference. I already have so much direction of where I'm going. The only part that needs to be redesigned or newly designed is going to be the area at the gas cap, as I explained in the previous video. But other than that, I already know exactly what shape this thing needs to be, and I also have my symmetry ribs that are going to show me exactly how wide it needs to be, how deep it needs to be, and everything like that. So it should come together fairly quickly. The other side took me the better part of an entire week to sculpt. This side, I imagine, again, I could be wrong, but I imagine this will only take a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. So we will have to see, but I'm going to be recording it as I go along for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy as we begin laying up the clay. Thank you again so much, those of you who are following this build. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am enjoying doing it. As much work as this is, it is an enjoyable thing for me, so let's get started on laying up the clay. We'll get some music going, get my clay tools out and everything, and get started on this. Let's do it. Alright, so here we are on day 2 of the sculpt. You can see we're making pretty darn good progress here. We've got the front section pretty much all dialed in. I've got it really close. I started with just that blanket of clay and just a small little amount of buildup in the areas that I knew were going to be a little thicker. And then I just started using my ribs, my symmetry ribs, to just dial in that depth as much as I possibly could, or as closely as I possibly could anyway. And I think at this point we're pretty darn close. I have taken my flare from the other side and I've kind of laid it up next to it several times just to look to make sure if by eye it's matching up pretty good. And you can definitely see that that's looking pretty close as I hold that up there. And again, just making a lot of measurements with my ruler and my measuring tools and all that, not just relying on one method, but several in order to get the symmetry exactly right, or at least as close as we possibly could. So at this point, I think the front section is looking real nice. Again, like I've said many times, it's not going to be perfect. There's always going to be some little things, little variances here and there, but it's going to be so close that I think that you're not even going to be able to tell with the human eye. If you were to look at this car after it's completely done and both flares are on the car, both back and the front, you're not even going to be able to see the difference between the two. Nobody will ever even know if there is any difference at all. So I'm very happy with that. That's going to be an acceptable result for me for sure. So with the front section looking the way it does, I'm now moving on through the back portion of the flare. I'm about half done. You can see I've sculpted up to about this point right here. We have not gotten to the gas cap just yet, so I haven't started the reshaping of that portion yet. A couple of things that I still need to fine tune through this section right here. I haven't done my symmetry ribs from about this point back yet, so I may still need to adjust some of the thickness and the depth in this area right here. But about the first 6 or 7 symmetry ribs are all super close to where that clay is sitting right now. So it's a very good result. So I'm happy with where it's at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and continue sculpting here and get back in through the gas cap. And then once I have all the clay laid up back here, then I'll start fine tuning it with those symmetry ribs. So let's keep on going. So before we move on, I just wanted to give you guys a little peek at what the symmetry ribs look like when they're in action. So you can see we got about from a 2 all the way over to 5 here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see as I put the camera down, you can see just how close. And these are, I just kind of laid them up here, so they're not actually in the perfect position. If I put them, actually latched them onto the exact perfect position, it'd be even closer than it is now. But you can see how close we've got the clay to the edge of the rib on each one of those in there. And again, if I laid them up correctly, you would see this little gap in here minimized. It's all perfectly flush with the clay when they're in the right position. This is how they work. You put them up and then you sculpt the clay exactly into the slot, exactly how much you need to fill in order to minimize that gap. You just continue to add clay until it's perfectly flush with that rib. And so that's how the ribs are working. We have from, like I said, about the first all the way through 7 or 8 that are all perfectly matched at this point all the way back. There's a perfect example of what I meant by they're just set up there, laying up there. But yeah, we have about from number 1 all the way through number 8 that are all completely matched. So we're in really good shape here. Like I said, I still have to do from about this section all the way back, and of course the back section I haven't done at all just yet. But from this section on, we're pretty much perfect. I'm not going to have to make very much change at all. I got to shrink this this little sidewall just a little bit. It's just a little bit thicker than it is on the other one, so I do have to minimize that a little bit. Other than that, we are really in good shape here. All right, so let's move on, start putting some more clay right here, and we'll get started doing that gas cap and all that other fun stuff. Alright, well, I'm at the end of the day here for sculpting. It is about 2:30 in the morning. I have stayed up much longer than I should. I got work at 8:30 in the morning tomorrow, so I'm already way past due, but I'm very satisfied with how much I was able to get done. Let me move out of the way here so you can see, hopefully. See, well, as I lean way back, you can see I got all of this back portion, almost all of the back portion, all done. There's still a few little things, little adjustments that I need to make. I think I got to resize this area just a little bit. It'll take about 10 minutes to do that. And of course, I got to just detail out the gas cap area there. But we are looking pretty darn good here. Looking really good. It is surprisingly close. Even actually a little closer than I thought I was going to be able to get to the other side. Those symmetry ribs, man, are just absolutely fantastic. They are coming in so handy. I can't even, it's like I said, I couldn't do this project without those symmetry ribs. So if you're doing something like this, even if it's not exactly this, but something similar to it, and you need to find out how to make something, a duplicate on the other side or whatever, keep that method in mind, because I'll tell you, it's a super lifesaver for sure, and it works well. Just, you know, you got to do it right. There's a lot of ways to do it wrong, but if you do it right, it's going to save your life, save you all kinds of time, and really allow you to finish the project at all. So you can see clearly here that it's looking quite a bit like the other one. You know, go back and look at the other videos if you want to see what the other one looked like when it was in this stage, and you'll see how similar it's looking here. But I am very happy with what this is looking like at this point. Like I said, a few little areas where I still need to make an adjustment. I just ran out of time for the night, but we're looking good, guys. Tomorrow when I get back from work, I'm gonna finish up the rest of the details, get the gas cap all done, get the other little areas that I needed to fixed, and then work on putting the rivet points in, and just general cleanup on it. And then we're getting close to prepping for the mold here. I mean, it's coming along awesome, really good. A lot faster than the other side. Like I said, I got it sculpted in in about 4 days, so it's coming along really good. So that's it for this video, guys. Stay tuned for the next one. I will document detailing the gas cap area and everything, and then of course I will go over doing the mold one more time. Probably not quite as in detail as I did the first time, but I will document it and show you guys that one more time, and then we are going to be moving on to the fronts once we get this thing pulled. Get a fiberglass copy of it pulled out of the mold, and then can't wait to get to the fronts. So we're close, guys. Project is moving on. Thank you so much, all of you who are following this project, and for all of your support, all of you guys who are saying it looks good and everything and that you like it. Thank you. Those words really make me happy, and they really help me to get out here and keep working at it as hard as I am. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you all in the next episode. Stay tuned for it. I'm sorry it's moving along slowly, but it is coming. Just working as quick as I can. All right, guys, I will talk to you all later. Peace.